Sequoyah. Who's on the bridge other than the people that have already announced themselves?
Hey, John, this is Dave Green with FEMA again. I got dropped. I'm sorry.
Okay.
This is Sean Davis at Canadian Precision.
Okay. Thank you for joining us. This is Jonathan Bartley, NRC meeting on Sequoyah. Did you join the bridge? Okay, we'll get some of that right again. Sean, did you get the copy of the slides I sent today? Is that Sean rejoining us?
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Sean, did you get a copy of the slides I sent this morning?
Yes, I
All right. Okay, let's go get started.
All right, well, welcome. I have 7 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. This is a meeting between the Nuclear Regulatory Commission and Tennessee Valley Authority, along with Sequoyah Nuclear Power Plant. Following our NRC's discussions with the licensee, before we conclude the meeting, we will open up for questions from members of the public, members of the audience, and anyone on the telephone. I want to just start off, as everyone came in through the main entrance, should there be any kind of emergency where we need to leave, just a reminder, there's 2 exits at the back of the room that lead directly to the outside parking lot across from the stairwells. Also, I wanted to make sure that everyone is aware that there are feedback forms out on the back table. These feedback forms, if you wish to provide any information or ideas, or just to comment on this meeting, please do so. You can drop those in the mail, and those will actually be sent directly to Mr. Bartley to my left. I want to start off with the introductions. My name is Bill Jones. I am the Deputy Director of the Division of Reactor Projects in the Region 2 office. The Division of Reactor Projects has responsibility for the inspection, oversight of each of the nuclear power plants in the Region 2 area. In addition, as part of our organization, and we'll show this in a minute, we have resident inspectors stationed at each of these facilities, including staff in the regional office headed by a branch chief and support staff for that branch chief. Just to start off with the overall introductions, to my left is Jonathan Bartley. Mr. Bartley is the branch chief with responsibility for each of the 3 Tennessee Valley Authority facilities. That's Rouse Ferry, Sequoyah, and Once Bar. Mr. Far end is Leslie Duchesne. He is a resident inspector here at Sequoyah. And to my immediate right is Jamie Heiser. She is an inspector actually in our construction group, but she was responsible for leading the inspection at Sequoyah that we will be talking about today. I'd like to take the opportunity now to have the licensee introduce your staff. Mr. Carlin.
Yes, I'll each one introduce themselves. I'm John Carlin. I'm the Site Vice President at Sequoyah.
I'm Todd Moy, I'm Sequoyah's Director of Safety and Licensing.
Melissa Mead, Sequoyah Engineering.
Paul Simmons, on the station plant manager.
Thank you. I just want to check with members on the telephone. Were you able to hear Tennessee Valley Authority's introductions?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. All right, the purpose of today's meeting is, as I mentioned, is a public forum for discussion of the licensee's performance. We're here to discuss the results of a recent inspection. An inspection involving 140 graded cornerstones in a strategic performance area. And we conducted what we refer to as a supplemental inspection of 9502. Mr. Bartley will cover that in a moment. As I indicated, this is a meeting between the NRC and Tennessee Valley Authority. So prior to the conclusion of this meeting, we will be taking comments, questions from the audience as well as those on the telephone. The agenda for tonight will be an overview of the NRC mission, a review of the reactor oversight process, and that's integral to how the NRC goes about assessing licensees' performance and how we ended up performing the supplemental 9502 inspection. We'll be discussing the plant performance results. We will turn it over to Tennessee Valley Authority to discuss the corrective actions that were taken. We will be talking about the specific results of the supplemental 9502 inspection. We will then have the NRC closing remarks and NRC available to address public questions. Like I said, prior to our actual closing remarks, we will take questions from the audience, and then the NRC staff will stay afterward. Once we do close the meeting, and make ourselves available to discuss and to talk with anyone in the audience that would like to. With that, I'd like to turn the discussion over to Mr. Bartley.
Thank you, Bill. Good evening. I'd just like to let you know I really appreciate you taking your time to come out tonight and participate in our meeting. Just thanks for that. I know the weather's not real nice, so please, when you go home, drive safely. Just real quickly, the Region 2 organization is up on the screen. That's the local organization that's responsible for overseeing the inspection program for the nuclear power plants in the southeast. That's in your slide out, so I'm just going to go past this and go on. Just briefly, for the reactor oversight process, which we conduct via our inspection manual chapter 0305, which is available on our public webpage, we take inputs that action matrix based on inspection findings and also performance indicators to assess licensee performance and then determine any follow-up actions we need to take based on that performance. The action matrix has 5 columns: licensee response, which licensees are in it, all their findings in PIs are green. Regulatory response column, which is what they get into when they have a singular white finding, a finding of very low safety significance, or a PI that goes white, performance indicator that goes white. That 9501, that's the number for the supplemental inspection procedure we conduct for licensee when they go into the licensee or the regulatory response column. The next column is degraded cornerstone. Licensees enter that if they have 2 whites in one what we call cornerstone, or several whites over strategic performance area. For that, we call it degraded cornerstone, and that we do this IP 95002 follow-up inspection. That's the inspection we did for Sequoyah. The next column is the multiple repetitive degraded cornerstone. That's where you get a cornerstone that's degraded for more than 4 quarters with a certain number of inputs, or anytime you get a red finding, such as we had at Brown Stereo Unit 1. And the last column is the unacceptable performance column, and that's where you get into plant shutdowns and NRC permission required to restart practice like that. So you can see, as you get more safety significant findings or PIs, that increases safety significance. As a result, we increase our NRC inspection efforts, increase the NRC licensing management involvement. Each time you go up in one of those columns, we got higher levels of management engagement that's required, and then increasing regulatory actions as you move on.
When we refer to PIs, we refer to performance indicators.
Okay, for Sequoyah units 1 and 2, for last year, all 4 quarters, they were in the graded cornerstone column due to a white violation in the mitigating systems cornerstone, because the licensee failed to properly establish an abnormal operating procedure for mitigating the impact of flooding. That's external flooding caused from rainfall or dam failures. And they had a white violation and also the mitigating systems cornerstone, because design documentation for the central well cooling water did not identify that the wall penetrations in their intake pumping structure were required as flood barriers. In addition to that, we also had a severity level 3 violation on reporting. The licensee failed to make a required 8-hour report to the NRC when they determined that their flood analysis on record was non-bounding, and the actual flood levels by a new analysis were higher than what the NRC had licensed them to. Severity level 3 violations of this type are not actions or inputs into the action matrix. I mention it because that was part of James' follow-up inspection. So I thought I'd mention it. In the fourth quarter of 2013, specifically in December, we completed the follow-up 95002 inspection. Based on the results of that inspection, and we issued that report Monday a week ago, both violations are closed and are no longer inputs to the action matrix effective January 1st, 2014. Assessment following closure of the two white findings in the Insp will be conducted as part of our normal end-of-cycle review process next week. So currently, the licensee remains integrated with Cornerstone Column to perform that assessment process, even though the white findings are closed. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to TVA so they can discuss their corrective actions as a result of these violations.
Thank you, Jonathan. We appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today about our corrective actions. Sequoyah, as a station, recognizes the gaps in our performance, and across TVA, we work to close those gaps. We had personnel from each of the nuclear sites, our corporate center, and nuclear operations working together to address the root causes and implement corrective actions to prevent recurrence. Our root cause analysis were systematic, and they took an extensive look at the extent of condition and the extent of cause. Our corrective actions were developed and implemented to address each causal factor and prevent recurrence of the identified causes. TVA continues to monitor the effectiveness of corrective action to ensure causal factors are being resolved and have been properly resolved. Corrective action set will ensure long-term sustained performance with respect to flood protection. And what I'm going to ask is Paul Simmons, our plant manager, will discuss with you today our specific corrective actions.
So I want to take the opportunity to cover the physical modifications that we've made, not only here at the station, but also upstream. And I will start with the upstream. You'll see the HESCO barriers here on the slide. We actually made these physical modifications to 4 of our dams, the Cherokee Dam, Telco, Watts Bar Dam, and Fort Loudon Dam. These HESCO barriers were installed and they are maintained through our river operations organization as part of the flood mitigation process that protects Sequoyah ultimately downstream in the event that we have the maximum probable conditions for a design basis flood. Additionally, at the station, in response to the issues that we've discussed at our Central Raw Clean Water Station, you'll see here also, and up here at the table, we have actual examples of them. We installed physical barriers to seal these conduits as part of the design change process. All of this was worked through our corrective action program. These design changes were vetted through our engineering organization, challenges in corporate, and installed, and we actually are having individuals, stations from other areas of the country that are contacting us about the seal application that we've installed here at Sequoyah for this application. We're very pleased with the results that we've obtained from that. And then the last one I'll talk to is associated with our emergency diesel generator building. And you can see the slides here that show the barriers as it relates to where we would be protecting for the maximum probable flood. And over here, so this slide right here shows the inside of one of our diesel bays. This is a barrier that's on the inside part of the diesel bay that prevents that maximum probable flood from accessing into this critical area of the plant that maintains our essential electrical power should we get into that situation. And this one right here on the far right to John Carlin is an external outside of the bay. So we put physical barriers associated with the diesel bay, all four of the diesel bays, and entering into the diesel building to protect our critical assets. Additionally, in response to our abnormal operating procedure finding, we revised our conduct and engineering procedures to include the flood protection program for critical plant systems. We developed a flood protection program management and implementing procedures for Sequoyah and Watts Bar, and developed a formal flood protection program design standards that control our calculation process, and then also developed a risk management process for all the engineered products for consideration from a flood standpoint. The degraded intake pumping station flooding barriers, I've shown you the actual design changes that we implemented. We did install these new penetration seals through that design process. We developed new design basis documents that address the functional requirements for moving forward associated with essential raw cooling water and our emergency diesel generators. And we developed a formal flood protection program with a single point owner at this station. Michael Hayes is in that role, and that is his sole responsibility for program ownership for flood protection. And the last is associated with the failure to report an unanalyzed condition. We revised our governing procedures associated with this type of reporting. We provided extensive training of the revised procedures to our operations senior licenses, our engineering, and our licensing. And we've developed case studies based on this violation and incorporated into our TVA management training, of which I have personally conducted that and kicked those off to facilitate those learnings for our folks at the Sequoyah station. And then we also went back and reviewed and verified that there have been no additional failure reports over the past 5 years for the station that we should have reported to the NRC with this requirement. In summary, I'll tell you that our rigorous causal evaluations were completed to ensure that the underlying performance issues were well understood. We implemented physical and engineering upgrades not only to our facility, but to the dams that are upstream of Sequoyah. And we revised our flood implementing procedures, and we've updated and made sure that the alignment and operating agreements between our nuclear facility and river operations will sustain our performance.
For members on the phone, we will be providing Tennessee Valley Authority. We have, okay, yes.
Jamie, I can turn it over to you, please. Just to remind you, Jamie led the 9502 follow-up inspection, so she'll be presenting the results of that inspection.
Good evening. Okay, so the objectives of the 9502 inspection were to provide assurance that the causes of the individual and collective performance issues were understood and implemented by the NRC. We independently assessed the extent of condition and extent of cause of those performance issues. We independently determined whether safety culture components caused or contributed to the individual and collective performance issues. And we also had the objective of providing assurance that the licensee's corrective actions for significant performance issues were sufficient to address the causes and to prevent recurrence. So we conducted the 9502 and 92702 inspection from December 9th to December 13th. So we used inspection procedure 95002 to review the white violation of Tech Spec 6.8.1, which was the inadequate procedure for flood protection, and the white violation of 10 CFR 50 Appendix B, Criterion 3 for the ERCW, or essential raw cooling water barriers. We used inspection procedure 92702, which was follow-up on traditional enforcement actions, to review the severity level 3 violation of 10 CFR 5072 for failure to report an analyzed condition. So our inspection team determined that the inspection objectives were satisfied. So, in summary, we had assurance that the root and contributing causes were understood. We had assurance that the corrective actions for the performance issues were sufficient to address the root and contributing causes and to prevent recurrence. In addition, our team performed actions to independently assess the extent of cause and extent of condition of the issues and determine if safety culture components caused or significantly contributed to those issues. Our team concluded that TVA's evaluations of each of the findings was comprehensive and self-critical. The root and contributing causes for each of the issues were identified by the licensee and were understood. The licensee appropriately ensured that safety culture components were considered. And then finally, the corrective actions that were already completed and those that were planned were sufficient to prevent recurrence of those issues.
Thank you, Dean. Could you, real quick, just tell us what your team makeup, we have on your team, their background?
Absolutely. So, I'm a senior construction inspector. I was the team leader. Wesley DeShane is the resident at Sequoyah. He was a member of the team. We also had a senior resident inspector from Turkey Point, Mr. Tim Hoke, who's a member of the team. And then Chad Huffman is the construction resident inspector at the welding units 3 and 4 site. So we had 4 inspectors that we had the team.
Thank you, Dean. All right, just to go over some closing items. We try and operate open to the public. We place a high priority on keeping the public and our stakeholders informed of our activities. That's certainly why I try to send out the slides ahead of time to those people on the phone so that this meeting would be more beneficial. That's why tomorrow morning you'll be receiving our meeting slides. Just so those people not on the phone can understand what we're talking about and see what we're seeing. Just pitch for our website, www.nrc.gov. You can get all of our inspection reports, except those that are security related. You can get all of our procedures, all the inspection procedures we use at Sequoyah and Watts Park, at 9502, 92702. You can get those and see exactly what they tell us to do, what we look at. The procedure, the manual chapter for how we run our reactor oversight process, manual chapter 0305. That's also publicly available, along with a multitude of other manual chapters that you can see how we're going to operate and how we're going to assess the plans.
Jonathan, would you, in a couple of months, we will be, again, holding a public meeting at Sequoyah to discuss the results of our end-of-cycle assessment. And that will be an opportunity to speak specifically to our reactor oversight process. And as Jonathan had mentioned early on, the assessment that we will be conducting as far as where the licensee is in the action matrix. That is a meeting that we'll be discussing internally next week and presenting publicly in a month or so from now.
Just need to report an emergency or safety concern. There's some contact information there. And just to repeat, Executive Chair here, Mr. Gail Smith, the senior resident, he is out of town, he's not listening. And just some reference sources as we discussed, so those are in your handbooks. At this point, we're ready to conclude the business portion of the meeting.
At this point, I would open any questions